Hey there, I'm going to do a few Bible verses today, John 18, 19, and 20. And we're on the part of the New Testament where Jesus is getting arrested. He's preparing to um, be crucified and give his life for us and our sins. So here's John 18. I'm just going to hop right into it. Everything before this is Jesus Christ just going around spreading the message of the kingdom of God and encouraging people to turn from their ways and seek the kingdom um, and develop a relationship with God. He's gained he's gained a lot of followers and also haters, so it's bittersweet his life because he's just trying to do the best he can, but many people don't understand what he's talking about or just are against him. So, John 18, Jesus is arrested. When Jesus finished praying, he left with his followers and went across the Kidron Valley. He went into a garden there, his followers still with him. Judas, the one responsible for handing Jesus over, knew where this place was. He knew because Jesus often met there with his followers. So Judas led a group of soldiers to the garden, along with some guards from the leading priests and the Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. Jesus already knew everything that would happen to him, so he went out and asked them, "Who are you looking for?" They answered, "Jesus from Nazareth." He said, "I am Jesus." Judas, the one responsible for handing Jesus over, was standing there with him. When Jesus said, "I am Jesus," the men moved back and fell to the ground. He asked them again, "Who are you looking for?" They said, "Jesus from Nazareth." Jesus said, "I told you that I am Jesus. So if you are looking for me, let these other men go free." This was to show the truth of what Jesus said earlier, that I have not lost anyone you gave me. Simon Peter had a sword, which he pulled out. He struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword back in its place. I must drink from the cup the Father has given me." So there upon him, the soldiers are there to collect Jesus and bring him in for questioning and ultimately to kill him. So they walk up and Judas brings them. He knows where Jesus is at and he brings them along. In this person's version, Jesus steps forth and asks the soldiers, who are you looking for? But in other people's accounts, there's, like I always say, there's four accounts of Jesus's life in the New Testament, and I'm reading from John. There are others. Well, in the others, it says that Judas, comes up to Jesus Christ and gives him a kiss, and he says, "Judas, would you betray me as a kiss?" So, for in your own life, you know that if you saw an event, for example, fights go on all the time in this world, and people walk away with different perceptions of what happened in the fight. Oh, this person started it, that person started it. But all you know is that the truth is about it is that a fight was started. So this person saw one thing happen. Jesus might have stepped forward and did this too, but someone else recorded that Judas walked up to Jesus and gave him a kiss to specifically point him out to the guard. So that's the good thing about having four different versions of the Bible, because where one person missed out on something, the next person remembers that part and writes it down, just so you can have a full account. And that's the reason that I'm going to go back and read another account written by someone else about Jesus, because I ultimately started reading with John in the New Testament, and John's the fourth book of all four books. So I skipped over the first three books and went right to John, but it's good to have another another point of view. So I'm going to go back after I read John. I'm going to probably read Mark or Luke, one of them, just to get another perception. Okay, so that's where we're at. The soldiers are there, and Jesus' team, they want to fight with them, and they're like, they're like, especially Peter, Simon Peter. He likes to always defend Christ. He wants to be the one who's his right hand man and be there for him no matter what. So as soon as the guards come up to try to take him away, he pulls out his sword and tries to fight them. And he cuts off one of the high priest's ear. And when he cuts off the priest's ear, Jesus says, put that sword back up. And I don't know if when I read on, I don't know if it's going to say that Jesus put the man's ear back on. I don't know if it's in this version. But someone's account, one of the people who wrote the story of Jesus Christ, is 4 people. And in one of these, either this one or the next or one of the others, it wrote how Peter cut off the guard's ear, but Jesus picked it back up and healed him and put it back on, and healed him. Oh, so it's pretty late. Excuse me if I yawn. But, sorry. I just woke up for a nap too. So, let me get get readjusted again. Okay, so what was I talking about? Okay, so Jesus is standing there. They're about to take him away, and he's telling his team, "Don't fight for me." And he's telling the guards, "Look, here I am. You're asking for Jesus. I'm saying I'm Jesus. And since I'm who you're looking for, then don't take any of my other disciples with you. Just let this be between you and me. No reason to take everybody else to jail or with you. All you want is me." So let's read on. The next chapter is called Jesus is brought before Annas. Then the soldiers with their commander and the Jewish guards arrested Jesus. They tied him and brought him to Annas, the father-in-law of Caiaphas. Caiaphas was the high priest that year. He was also the one who had told the other Jewish leaders that it would be better if one man died for all the people. Okay, right. So Jesus is brought before Annas, and he is the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest in that year. And he's the one who said earlier in what I was reading, he said, he was convincing the people to get Jesus Christ, because if they didn't, then the Romans would have taken that as an offense, thinking that Jesus Christ is raising up as a leader. And all the people were wanting to worship him because he could do miracles and marvelous things. So the Roman people would have taken that as some kind of threat to them. They're going to look to the Jewish people and say, "Oh, you're trying to build up a leader? I'm the only leader you're supposed to be serving." And they would want to go to war with them. So this high priest of that year, Caiaphas, he has suggested, "Hey, it's better if we just kill this man off, so nobody has anybody to serve besides the Roman officials, than to let him rise in power and let people follow him and serve him and make him their leader." So next it says, Peter lies about knowing Jesus, and this is what Jesus had predicted. Jesus, before this time, Jesus came to Peter and said, "Peter, do you love me?" And he asked him 3 times, I think. And Peter kept on saying, "God," or "Jesus, you know I love you. Why do you keep asking me this? I would die for you even." He's saying all that. But Jesus tells him, "Tonight before the rooster crows 3 times, you're going to deny even knowing me. And you're standing here saying that you would die for me." And that's a good thing to know. A lot of people like to talk a good game. They'll say, "Yeah, I'm down for you. I'll ride for you," yada, 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 yada. Get you all excited like this person is really on my team. Well, when it comes down to life-threatening situations, they don't have the they don't have the courage to have your back 100% like they promised. So that's what Jesus is experiencing. Peter wanted to be there for him, but he just couldn't do it because, for one, he wasn't allowed to fight for Jesus. He tried to fight for Jesus, but Jesus said, "Put your sword down." So Peter's like, "I would die for you. I would fight for you, but if I can't do anything, how can I stand around and just be captured or just killed?" I'm not going to stand around and be killed. I want to fight for you, but you don't want me to. So here's the title. Peter lies about knowing Jesus. Simon Peter and another one of Jesus' followers went with Jesus. This follower knew the high priest. So he went with Jesus into the yard of the high priest's house. But Peter waited outside near the door. The follower who knew the high priest came back outside and spoke to the gatekeeper. Then he brought Peter inside. The girl at the gate said to Peter, "Are you also one of the followers of that man?" Peter answered, "No, I'm not." It was cold, so the servants and guards had built a fire. They were standing around it, warming themselves, and Peter was standing with them. So Peter, he can't fight for Jesus, but he's still on his team and he cares about him. So he wants to go see what's going to happen with Jesus. So Peter follows him along with this other man, a follower who had access inside the gates. He had to hook up where he can just go in and go out as he pleased. So he hung out with Jesus. Jesus probably did a miracle for him, and he knew Peter. So he's bringing Peter along and saying, "Hey, I can get in there. I'll go in and out every day. They let me in. They know who I am. Just walk with me and keep everything kosher, calm, cool. Just walk with me, and we'll be able to get inside." So Peter's, he's a little cautious, but he's going along, and he wants to see what happens to Jesus. So right now he's entered this place that this man has access to, and they're starting to identify him, and they're like, "Hey, aren't you that man who's with Jesus?" And he's like, "No, I'm not him," because he knows if he gets identified as a Jesus follower, most likely he's going to get taken into the jail too and questioned or even killed, and he doesn't want that. Next, the high priest questions Jesus. The high priest asked Jesus questions about his followers and what he taught them. Jesus answered, "I have always spoken openly to all people. I always taught in the synagogues and in the temple area. All the Jews come together there. I have never said anything in secret. So why do you question me? Ask the people who heard my teaching. They know what I said." When Jesus said this, one of the guards standing there hit him. The guard said, "You should not talk to the high priest like that." Jesus answered, "If I said something wrong, tell everyone here what was wrong. But if what I said is right, then why do you hit me?" So Annas sent Jesus to Caiaphas, the high priest. He was still tired. So the thing to point out here is that Jesus is called the high priest. And it's so funny, the high priest is being brought to this non-official earthly high priest. Jesus Christ is the kingdom high priest, the heavenly high priest, but he's brought to this lower level high priest, and he's standing before them, and they're questioning him like they have a right to. But Jesus doesn't get out of uppity in himself. He just walks around still humble. He could say, "I'm the high priest. I'm the one with the real authentic title. You're not even on my level." But he doesn't say that. All he does is just, in a smart way, answer their question because they're grilling him, trying to find out who he is, what he's teaching. And he's like, "Look, I've seen you in my crowds. You come to where I'm at all the time. You hear what I'm preaching. Why are you asking me this?" I've spoken openly the whole time. If you want to know what I said, just remember it, or just ask the people who heard my teaching. They know what I said, and they can tell you. So, of course, they take that as being snooty or snapbackish. So they hit him for saying that. And he's like, "What you hitting me for? If I said something wrong, tell us all what I said wrong. But if what I said is right, then what do you hit me for?" So they pass him along to the high priest of that time. They go in, they're taking him from almost like the judicial system. They'll go to one level of court to the next one, to the next one, or whatever. This is what's happening. So they're putting him up to a little higher level authority. So they're bringing him in front of them. Next subject is Peter lies again. Simon Peter was standing at the fire, keeping himself warm. The other people said to Peter, "Aren't you one of the followers of that man?" Peter denied it. He said, "No, I am not." One of the servants of the high priest was there. He was a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off. The servant said, "I think I saw you with him in the garden." But but again, Peter said, "No, I was not with him." As soon as he said this, a rooster crowed, just like Jesus told him. A few chapters back, Jesus told him, "Look, before the rooster crows, you're going to deny me 3 times." And he denied it a moment ago with the lady who asked. Now he denied it with this man and another man who remembers it. Well, this man, he's a relative of the man who Peter cut an ear off of. So, of course, the word spread quick. Hey, Peter cut this man over there with Jesus. He cut my ear off, but Jesus Christ put it back on. And I guess that man, the soldier, he runs and tells kinfolks, and everybody knows already about it. So this man hears the story, and he knows the description of Peter. And he's like, "Wait a second, I think I saw you with him in the garden." And Peter still says, "No, I was not with him. What are you talking about?" So what Jesus predicted came true. And not to say that Peter didn't love Jesus Christ, but when times got rough, he didn't have the backbone to stand up for Jesus Christ. And he did, in a sense, because he wanted to fight for Jesus, but Jesus commanded him not to. So his back was against the wall. So all he felt he could do was lie. I mean, because if he said yes, he was ready to fight, he would have fought him. But if he said, "Yes, I do know Jesus Christ," they would have took him to jail and killed him too. And in this time, Jesus Christ wanted to make sure that nobody died but him. So, and Jesus was to leave those 11 followers so that they can, it was 12, of course, but Judas, he's going to go kill himself because he feels so bad about betraying Jesus. But the rest of the 11, Jesus Christ needed them alive so that they can go out and spread the message of him. So, in a sense, almost with in a miraculous way or powers, Jesus wanted this to happen. Sometimes what looks bad is not bad. It's actually a good thing. Because, and that goes a lot for the things in our life. Like if you find you're going through some hard times or whatever, you're like, "Why am I going through this?" It's strengthening you. It's making you a new being, someone who can put up or go through anything, walk through the fire and come out unburned. So the bad things can look like it's bad, but it's always for God's good. When God's in the mix, if you're walking with God, and you're trying to live the best out in life that you can and follow Jesus Christ, and God's doing a work in your life, whether it seems like it or not. And even though we could say, "Oh, Peter's scary, he's a wimp, he had no courageousness," Jesus Christ needed him to be a coward in this moment, and he called it out. And actually, it's almost weird if anyone remembers Matrix, when they go and see the the Oracle, and Morpheus brings different people, various peoples, to this oracle, and she tells them something prophetic about their future or about themselves. And the one that Morpheus thought was you had to watch the movie in order to know what I'm talking about, but Morpheus had his eye on the one who was supposed to save the world and change things in the world. And he brought the one, Neo, to the oracle to ask her, "Is this the one?" And then she tells him, acts like she reads his palm or something, touches his hand or whatever, and she's like, "Nope, you don't got it." Well, she tells him, "You've got it in you, kid, but you just aren't the one." She tells him that he has what it takes, but he just isn't. He's scared or he's holding back. She didn't know what was wrong with him, but he's not the one. So, with her telling him that, he at first started to lose faith, but I guess he started to realize that, hey, she did tell me that I did have it in me to be the one. So, if she had never told him, well, I can talk on that, but here's the easier picture. There was an oracle, and the oracle, when he was brought to her, this is what the scene I'm talking about. When Neo was brought to the oracle to find out if he was the one to save the world or not, then she tells him he's about to knock over this plate of cookies or something like that, or knock over something. I forgot what it was. And before he does, she tells him, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's okay about it." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And all of a sudden, he knocks it over. And and he was like, "Did you know I was about to do that? How'd you know?" And she was like, "The really thing that's important is if I never said that you were about to knock that over, if I never mentioned anything about knocking that over or said it was okay that it gets knocked over, would you have really knocked it over?" So saying something can sometimes cause someone to do something that they weren't going to do in the first place. And that's why Jesus said this. Jesus questioned Peter because he knows Peter is a fighter. He knows Peter would stand up for him. He knows Peter loves him so much. And that's the thing he needs to address in him. He needs to tell him that you say you love me a lot, but there is a cowardness in you that will deny me. And if he never said that, would Peter have not denied him? Who knows? But Jesus needed him to be alive. Jesus needed him to fall back and not be any part of this capture or this fight. Jesus needed to be taken without any fight at all, without any problem, so that those 11 people, his 11 disciples, can be saved and go out to spread his message because he needed each one alive. So Jesus beforehand, Jesus could see exactly what's going to happen. Oh, I'm going to get taken away. Peter's going to try to fight for me. I don't want him to fight for me. I need him to back down. So he's going to, this first part when he cuts off this soldier's ear, I'll let that slide. I'll fix the soldier's ear, put it back on. But I'm going to ask the soldiers, if you are only here for Jesus Christ, I'm Jesus Christ. Let my other people go. My other followers, they're going to run away because I don't want them to fight for me. And they're going to have it in themselves to deny me everywhere, at least for a little while, so that they won't get captured. They can go further away. They can go far out so that these soldiers won't take them to jail and crucify them too. So from the Jesus saw this coming, so he has a conversation about Peter and almost builds up a cowardness inside him. Sometimes when somebody tells you something's okay to do, or you're like, for example, us as humans, we have this trait in us where if we don't have confidence in ourselves and believe in ourselves, then we'll start letting other people determine who we are. So sometimes it's a mindset of someone who, if they've grown up in like an environment where like a parent just says, "You'll never amount to nothing. You're just like your dad," instead of having the mindset of trying to be something and and say, this is my life. I'm my own person. I'm not going to be what you're telling me. Some people are just wallow in that abuse, that mental abuse where someone said, "You're never going to be anything. You're just like, you're the spitting image of your parent. You'll never be anything but that." Some people will say, "Look, that's all they told me to do. They told me I was never going to be anything. I guess they're right." And they'll live their whole life without trying anything new, without doing anything different, and just having their identity in what somebody else has told them. Which, if they were, if they would realize that they are the image of God, not their parent, they were made in the image of God, then they would see their true identity. You're not some low-life parent or whatever. However, one parent's trying to tell you, "Oh, your parent," for example, if it's a mom, she's all upset at her husband or her boyfriend or whatever because he left and he was no good to her and he left her with a child. So now she's abusive to the child, saying, "Look, you're just like your daddy. You'll never be nothing. You're good for nothing, blah, 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 blah." And that kid grows up in that. And instead of saying, "My real daddy is God Almighty, that's my father. He created me before I was formed in my mother's womb. He knew me. That's my true identity, my DNA. Forget what an earthly father did. This is my real true father." Instead of going in that identity, some people just soak it up and say, "I look around, I don't see anybody else doing nothing. My mama always told me I would be nothing, so this is what I'm gonna be," and that's what they turn themselves into. So you gotta watch. Here's a good lesson for us. Watch what people are feeding into your life verbally. "Oh, you can't do this. You can't do that. I don't believe in you. Why are you trying?" That kind of thing. Let that stuff go out in one ear and out the other, because you ultimately decide what direction your life goes into. And because subliminal is, that's the term for it, subliminal messages. If you hear a message so long, you figure it must be true, or you figure there's no way to get out of this thought, or this identity that someone's placed in your life. So you just start living it out. Now, Peter seems like a strong person. I believe him when Jesus said, "Do you love me?" etc. I believe he wants to stand up and fight for him. And he was telling him, Peter used to tell Jesus, "You know what? I would die for you. What else is there but you? I've been following you this whole time, and I see that you're the truth from God. I would die for you." I believe he has that. He's not uncourageous. Who, if he was uncourageous, why would he lift up his sword and try to fight for Jesus? But Jesus has embedded it in his mind to be a coward and deny him 3 times. And actually, you can see how this is, our whole lives are God's stories for whatever purposes. We live different lives to bring glory to God. And until we start walking in that purpose, we don't really fulfill out our lives. Your life, my life, our life, if we turn our direction to God and start living for godly things, we're going to at least influence at least one person in this world. The more, the better, but at least one person. And that's powerful. So Peter, and like I said, our whole lives are God's story, and God can twist and turn anything He wants to. And you see the twist right there, where God, Jesus, God, He calls out, "Hey, before this night's over, you're going to deny me 3 times." So God, in His power, has written in His story, "I'm going to put a woman here, I'm going to put a man there, and one man there." Peter's going to walk across, and the woman's going to ask him, "Didn't you hang out with Jesus?" He's going to say, "No." He's going to move on to the next man. He's going to ask, "Didn't you see Jesus?" "No." And the next man, "No." And in this story, God has made sure that He's written out Peter's courageousness and embedded him with, instead, fear and lies, and allowed him to instead of being honest, allowed him to just use his human side instead of walking in the spiritual truth of things. God's allowed that to somehow be dormant in him, where all he can do is walk in fear and be scared, which is not Peter's normal trait. It's not his normal personality to be scared. He's courageous. But in this moment, God needed him to be fearful, because if he hadn't turned into a liar, if he hadn't turned into, and can you imagine, this is Jesus' disciples. You know, we have the whole 10 commandments: do not lie, cheat, steal, and all this other stuff. But in this instance, God needed Peter to lie, because if he didn't lie, imagine he just walks in that cockiness. "Are you with Jesus?" "Yeah, I'm with Jesus." "And what? I got a load of guys with me. I got 10 more people just like me. I got a sword in my hand. I'm about it." If he came with that kind of personality, they surely would have drugged him in, stood him right next to Jesus. "Look, Jesus, I found one of your disciples. Now I got both of you in here, and both of you start telling me what's going on, or else you both get crucified." And there's no way out for Peter. There's nothing he can do. After they got him, there's no way in the world he can get out of that, because they're planning to kill Jesus, and they would have done the same for Peter. And imagine they had racked up all 11 disciples with Jesus Christ. There would be no gospel spread anywhere. There would be no good news. And me here way out from the Middle East, not even near Israel, I would never hear the message of Jesus Christ. It would have died right then. So sometimes when something is bad, or sometimes when you're in a sin, sometimes it's for God's purpose. As weird and awkward as that sounds. So yes, he told a lie, but it was for God's purpose, so that he wouldn't get killed. Next, and there's plenty of things, sinful things that God allows to go on. Like, for example, I use this a lot, where in the Old Testament, God tells a holy man to go and marry a prostitute, a hooker. Now, God knows He wants one man joined with one woman. But this woman is out there sleeping, still constantly sleeping with other men. But God has told this man, go and marry this prostitute. So this holy man who has been following God has to face sleeping every night with this hooker, treating her like a wife, turning a whore into a housewife, and could be faced with all kind of sexual transmitted diseases and all these things just for the glory of God, because God wanted to put a message out to the town that this is how he feels. He is trying to be your husband. He's trying to be the community's husband, the Israelites' husband, trying to be good to the people, and all they're doing is whoring themselves out with other countries. So that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to show you, that something sinful can be a blessing for God. Like, for example, when I read in John where they were curious, they know that sicknesses and illnesses and problems arise if you sin. So when a man who had been born blind, he's grown up all these years and he's blind from the jump. They wanted to know, look, this newborn baby, how could he sin? So if he didn't sin, why does he have blindness? Blindness is a curse. Curses come from sins. If he didn't sin, how did he get blind? And Jesus said, this man didn't sin. His parents didn't sin. This has nothing to do with sin. Yes, illnesses, bad things happen from sin, but in this case, he is blind. Something bad has happened to him. Something negative is going on with him because it's to bring glory to God. It's to show the world that I have miraculous powers. I'm different from just a regular person walking around, and I can heal you if you just turn to me. So it's people like to put God in a box. This is a God's box. Here you are, God. You must do good, good, good. And that is God. He is good. And everything he does is holy. But he also is working a plan in our world, in our life, so that his message can come out clear. And sometimes it takes acts of, I don't want to say it takes acts of sin, but sometimes there's sinful situations which bring forth a godly, holy message for God. That's the best way to say it. So next we have Jesus is brought before Pilate. Then the guards took Jesus from Caiaphas' house to the Roman governor's palace. It was early in the morning. The Jews there would not go inside the palace. They did not want to make themselves unclean because they wanted to eat the Passover meal. There's a lot of rules back then and things where if they're doing a holy special meal, then you can't do this or that because you have to be clean, so to speak. So everybody's very cautious. So I'll read it again. Jesus is brought before Pilate. Then the guards took Jesus from Caiaphas' house to the Roman governor's palace. It was early in the morning. The Jews there would not go inside the palace. They did not want to make themselves unclean because they wanted to eat the Passover meal. So Pilate went outside to them and asked, what do you say this man has done wrong? They answered, he is a bad man. That is why we brought him to you. Pilate said to them, you take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. The Jewish leaders answered, but your law does not allow us to punish anyone by killing them. So they wanted the utmost law. There's two rulerships here. Romans pretty much have taken over and control of the Jewish people and land, but they've gotten a deal going so that Jewish people can still kind of run the show in their own way, but nothing should come over Roman law and Roman rulership. So what the Jews are doing, they have the power to maybe throw someone in jail, flog people, which is, give people whips or lashes, beat them, that kind of punishment. But they have no power to actually kill someone, it seems. So what they do is bring Jesus to the Romans, who have that power to say whether somebody dies or not. And they definitely want Jesus Christ dead, just so they can rid the whole world of him and just be done with them. So the Romans like, I don't have time to deal with this. You're on some petty stuff. This man, go judge him for yourself. Don't bring him in here. And they're saying, wait, we need you to judge him because we can't make this, we can't punish him by killing him. And, let's see. The Jewish leaders answered, but your law does not allow us to punish anyone by killing them. And this answers the question for me. This flips me back, just me thinking in my own self. This flips me back to the woman who was caught in adultery. Now, all this time, I have a mindset where I think that that crowd was going to stone her to death, but obviously not, because they don't have any power to kill her. So most likely, her highest punishment with them would probably have been maybe some kind of stoning, some kind of beating, but they couldn't kill her. Okay, so this was to show the truth of, okay, the Jewish leaders answered, but your law does not allow us to punish anyone by killing them. This was to show the truth of what Jesus said about how he would die. Then Pilate went back inside the palace. He called for Jesus and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said, "Is that your own question, or did other people tell you about me?" Pilate said, "I'm not a Jew. It was your own people and their leading priests who brought you before me. What have you done? What have you done wrong?" Jesus said, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If it did, my servants would fight so that I would not be handed over to the Jewish leaders. No, my kingdom is not an earthly one." Pilate said, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You are right to say that I am a king. I was born for this, to tell people about the truth. That is why I came into the world, and everyone who belongs to the truth listens to me." Pilate said, "What is truth?" Then he went out to the Jewish leaders again and said to them, "I can find nothing against this man, but it is one of your customs for me to free one prisoner to you at the time of the Passover. Do you want me to free this king of the Jews?" They shouted back, "No, not him. Let Barabbas go free." Barabbas was a rebel. It says here rebel, but King James Version, there's different versions of the Bible where it's translated. Oh my God, this just reminded me. Things lead to things in my mind. Sorry if I get off track. But on Twitter, I just realized there's this new Bible that's made all out of emoticons. So like little emoji pictures. So it's saying, like, for example, the verse that says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." It might have "in the beginning" and then a picture of a word or something. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and then it has an emoji with a halo on it as for God. And I think it's kind of cute. I mean, it's updating it. We're doing what people do is translate the Bible. Of course, it started with like the King James versions or whatever, and those are the Bibles that say that talk like this. And I understand so much. I don't. It's so awkward with me. I don't like to read, but I love words. The how you can mix words together and develop rhythmic patterns with words. I like doing all that kind of stuff. So it's an oxymoron. But King James version is the version that starts, talks like this and thou, and thou hast thus said. I mean, no one these days talks like that. So nobody would know what that says. So now they translate it, and like right now, I'm reading from the easy to read version of the Bible. So I think from the King James version, it said Barabbas was a murderer. This one just says Barabbas was a rebel, and that doesn't give you the full power of knowing how bad it was. A choice to these people would rather choose a murderer, pull somebody out of jail who's been killing. Killing and might come out and kill some more. You'd rather have this murderer escape than let Jesus come out who's doing miracles in the town. So that you have to get the full perception of how much hate they had to have for Jesus and how much evil is working in their spirits. They don't know why they're against Jesus. They just think that they're trying to stand. They think they're standing up for God. Oh, this man claims to be God and he's walking around in blasphemy. But still, they have nothing bad to say about Jesus. They can't call him a lie on anything. He's walking around telling straight truth. And since they cannot contradict him or be against him, they have no choice but to try to act like he's done something wrong so they can get him killed. And that's what happens sometimes when you decide when you choose good over evil. Because let me first say about this. This is why I'm going to read another version of Jesus' story. In the New Testament, like I always say, there's 4 books that start with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I'm reading from John. I didn't read Matthew, Mark, or Luke, but I will go back to read either Mark or Luke because it's more filled, it's more fulfilling, has more details in it than just John. So with that said, in the other versions, it tells a story about how Jesus was approached by evil, by the devil, the one against God, the one who has rulership of this world, who, you know, is making this world more on taking the love out of this world. It shouldn't be like this. I mean, we live day to day, and everybody's culture. We're like, I go to work, it's fine. I come home, it's fine, and that's it. But ultimately, it's a mediocre kind of lifestyle against what Jesus is, what God's plan is for our lives, where we're supposed to be loving, sharing, caring, wanting to associate with each other, and not be in fear of this person just trying to use me for this. Or, I mean, the reason we can't really link up like we're supposed to be is because people have underlying tactics and underlying hidden agendas. That's what I'm trying to find the words to say. They have hidden agendas a lot of the time. And some people just come around just to use you in various ways. And people are linking up with other people, and people are getting hurt so much that you almost, every time you go out there and get hurt, you try to give somebody a chance and you get hurt. Then slowly you just start, to say, you know what, this is just humanity. You try to be good to somebody, and then all they do is treat you like crap. So you get a good, sometimes when you're trying to be good or do good in the world, you get a good snapshot of humanity and how it can actually be by associating with people who aren't trying to live a godly life, but are just going off of their feelings. And the feelings are telling them, go for what you know, go get it by any means necessary. And in that go get it kind of mentality, we're squashing everybody. We're stepping over everybody. It's seen in the lowest poverty areas in the world, in the highest richest areas. You might have white collar crime, what they call it, or bosses who are making billions and would pay their employees pennies because they're not working on a mindset of, love and care for an actual human being, but instead greed and money. Oh, I'm going to pay them the minimum, a very minimum non-living wage where you can barely live off of it. But I'm going to sit here fat and good. I got 5 beach houses, 6 mansions, and 3 Rolls Royces, and I'm just good. And yeah, I walked in my business and I saw my employee had 10 kids and lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. But I mean, what am I supposed to do about that? They're lucky that they're working. But the compassion of God would squash all that kind of thinking and instead have that boss say, you know what, I'm going to share the wealth with my employees and I'm going to make things fair, a fair wage, and etc. On the other end of the white collar crime, there's the blue collar crime or whatever color crime where it's just, people are living in a neighborhood that's poverty and you're just trying to survive. You're struggling, trying to survive. So you're after everything. Any opportunity you see, your eyes are always open for opportunity. And it doesn't matter if you have to kill, steal, whatever. You're just going to go so you can feed your family or look like you have more than the neighbors that's next to you. As long as you can have more than anyone else in the poverty area, you're good, you're straight. When in actuality, it should be, look, I have a little, you have a little. Let's find a way to get together so we can start building and start trying to have a lot, or at least a little more than what we have. You don't have to take from the little that you got to try to give it to me. Let's work together to build something better than this. And that's just a little foundation. There's much more vision that God had for this world for us than to live, from the beginning, God wanted us to be in a paradise with no work at all. I mean, everything would grow on its own. Plants would grow. You're hungry? There goes an orange tree. You didn't have to toss a seed down to eat it. I mean, to grow it. It's growing on its own. But when sin entered the world, there's always some kind of consequence for sin. When Adam and Eve chose to do what they wanted to do instead of doing what God said to do, then they chose to go against God. And anything against God is sin. And anything against God has punishment due. And one of the punishments God caught out was that that man would always work for their food, would always work to live. And that's the predicament we're in. And you can see yourself, everybody has turned Monday uh, because work is so prevalent, or what's the word? Work is so, I mean, it's just a huge part of your life that every time you look around, it's just work, 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 work. I mean, so that consumes a lot of a big part, 40 hours at least a week for all of us. I mean, and we're just working our lives away, and at least a third of our lives going to be, for many of us, are going to be spent working. And it's just not how God envisioned it to be. We would all have peace, love for each other, just be sharing, caring, that kind of thing. But evil won in round one. There's two rounds. Evil won in round one, but in the end, God wins always. So, of course, God has created man in his image and given him free will. In order to test someone's free will and to see whose team they want to be on, you have to throw out a challenge. So that challenge came through evil, coming to Adam and saying, or coming to Eve and enticing her to do something that God said, because God called it out. If God hadn't called out anything, there would be no rule to break. But God had to say at least one thing. He says, look, I created all this, and you've got the trees and the animals, and everything's peaceful. You're in this beautiful garden. Now, I have to say this just to make sure you're on my team. You see everything in here? Every fruit, every tree, every animal, every fruit, or whatever you can eat from. Hang out with the animals, love them. But of this tree, don't eat from it. That's the only thing I say don't do. Don't eat from this tree. So that is the test to see if Adam and Eve was gonna be obedient to him or not, or if Adam was gonna be obedient to him or not, because Adam's really the one who got the rule. God told Adam the rule. Eve, she ate the fruit, but really, God didn't tell Eve anything. But she ate the fruit and then tried to give it to Adam. And women, we can be seducers. Who knows what he probably says, no, God said don't eat that. And, she's like, please just taste it. It's so good. Your eyes will be open. You don't know what you're missing. And she's just, enticing him. So finally he's like, well, you did eat it. God said that I'd die if I ate it. And I see you eating it. You didn't die. So let me have some. And he eats it, and that's the disrespect to God. That's like if you have a child. I'm no parent, but I'm sure if you have a child, you get upset if you tell them, hey, okay. I watch these YouTube videos where you always see a child stealing a cupcake or something. I just recently watched this cute one where this man, he finds his daughter and he's like, oh, well, there's the cupcake bandit. Somebody's been stealing cupcakes. And then she's like, it's me. And she takes off running and he chases her like the police or something. So that was cute. But if you tell your child, I'm having a bake sale. Don't touch these cupcakes, okay? You can, I have cookies in the refrigerator for you. Don't touch these cupcakes. I'm going to make you some cupcakes tonight. Just wait and be patient, but just don't touch these. You turn your back, and then while you're gone, they've eaten 3 of the cupcakes that you said don't touch. Well, you're going to feel disrespected. You're going to feel like this child is not listening to anything that I'm saying to do. So you will have some kind of punishment for him. Hello? Yeah. I'm doing Bible video. Alright, I'm going to see what I'm doing. I said I'm doing a video. Bye. But I set that on to lead back to this. When you do things your own way, when you disobey God, then there's always repercussions. But there's benefits when you do things God's way, even if it seems like it's not benefits. And I was talking about how in the other versions of Jesus' story, then there's where Jesus is tempted by evil. Evil comes up to him and says, you know what? Look at this world. I know, Jesus. You're going to be king. You are king of the world. You're supposed to take over the world. God has destined it for you to take over this world. But that's going to come later. And that's going to come after you give your life up. You're going to have to die, be on the hanging on the cross. They're going to hammer nails into your hands, feet, and you're going to be bleeding to death in the hot sun, sweating. That does not sound like a pretty thing. Here's the deal I got. I currently own this world. What I want to go on in this world, it happens. I got wars going on there, no peace here. I mean, it's a problem. And I know that you have a heart where you want this to be a more godly world. You can have control of this world. I'll give it to you. I'll let you be the leader, the king. You're already going to be a king later on, but you're going to have to go through a death. But I'm going to give it to you where you don't even have to go through the death. You know you don't want to die. We both see your last day. I can look forward and see how your last day on earth is going to be, and you can look forward and see, and you know already you're going to be on your knees begging to God, saying, God, if there's any other way, please let it be, but nevertheless, let your will be done. You're going to do that. Here's the way. Here's the way. All you have to do is, if you bow to me right now, I know I'm evil. You're better than me. I know that, and you're good and holy. I know. But I can give you this world right now. God's given and letting me run. You know, I can run wild in this world and do whatever I want. He's given me the chance to do that now. But if you want to take over, go ahead right now. Just go ahead and let's just make this a transition. You go ahead and bow to me. Start, bow to me, and you can have this world. So Jesus said, you know what? I'm not bowing to you. I'm going to live out how God wants this to go, and that's it. So, of course, that upset evil that Jesus would not bow to him and fall into temptation. So this is what's inciting all these people's spirits, where they walk around, evil is getting into their spirit. They have no clue that they're working for evil. So they're going around, they don't know why they're irked by Jesus Christ. They think about it. What's making me so mad about this man? He does miracles. He even did a miracle for my mom. She was sick, he healed her. He tells information from God's word. The Old Testament that he reads from, it's authentic. He's not saying anything wrong. So why do I have this strong desire that I want him dead? I don't know. I can't shake it, but I'm just going to run with it anyway. So I'm going to capture him, take him into the high courts, and get him crucified. And they can't put their finger on it, but it's something about him that they hate so much. And they don't know that evil has been hating, that he could not convince him to work, could not convince Jesus to follow him or bow down to him. So now he's working double time to get him killed through other people. And that was the last chapter of 18. So I'm going to cut it off here. So Jesus is arrested. He's about to get killed. They're calling out for Jesus Barabbas. And I think it's so weird. I don't know where I saw that his name was Barabbas, Jesus Barabbas, but in one of these versions it says that. But it's so awkward that this man that they're calling out of jail, they're giving him a choice. They said, look, you have a choice to let one of these prisoners free out of here. Wouldn't you like to just give him a free pass? I don't see that he's done anything wrong. Let's release Jesus Christ. And they're saying, no, release Barabbas. And actually, Barabbas is named in some kind of weird Twilight Zone. I tell you, this is God's story that he writes out. But he has it set up where this man's name is Jesus Barabbas and against Jesus Christ. Which of these Jesuses are you going to let out of jail? And they choose Jesus Barabbas. Okay, so I'm going to move on to John 19. Please stay tuned for that. And I think I'll do 20 today too. It's getting pretty late. Say goodbye.